The galaxy was wide, bright, and full of strange planets, but none of them had ever confused the alien armies as much as Earth. The aliens had studied thousands of species on thousands of worlds. They had seen giant beasts, flying monsters, creatures made of stone, and insects the size of trees. But Earth carried something different, something dangerous, something no alien leader could fully understand. They called it human unpredictability. And it was the reason a full alien battalion now stood in panic, facing a problem they never expected. The alien commander, General Vrax, had trained warriors for 40 years. He had faced wars with fire lizards, ice serpents, and plasma-breathing beasts. He thought he had seen everything the universe could create. But on this day, he found himself staring at a small human child and a honey badger that looked ready to destroy everything around it. Vrax's hands shook as he held the report pad. This cannot be correct," he muttered. "A human child and an Earth creature causing this much damage." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Raltek, nodded nervously. "Sir, the numbers are real. The training budget is collapsing. Repairs alone have cost more than our last 3 wars." Vrax looked again at the child standing inside the metal training room. The boy couldn't be older than 5 or 6. His hair was messy, his face was dirty, and his smile was wide like he had no idea how dangerous the situation was. Next to him stood a honey badger, small but terrifying, with sharp claws tapping against the floor. The aliens had brought the child and the honey badger for one simple reason. They believed training them together could help them understand human survival instincts. They thought the honey badger's wild nature mixed with a human child's creativity would teach the alien army something useful. They were wrong, so very wrong. The project was named Joint Behavioral Study Alpha. It was supposed to be safe, calm, controlled. But the aliens had underestimated one thing: honey badgers don't care about authority. And human children don't care about rules. Together they were chaos in its purest form. Inside the training room, the child laughed as he ran around, followed closely by the honey badger. They knocked over crates, ripped open cables, and broke one of the training robots simply because it looked boring. General Vrax watched the destruction through the glass window. His soldiers stood behind him, whispering nervously. These were trained warriors, strong, disciplined, fearless, but now their armor rattled when the honey badger looked in their direction. Vrax sighed. "Why is the honey badger wearing our elite armor?" Lieutenant Raltek swallowed hard. The boy said he wanted the honey badger to look cool, and the honey badger bit 3 soldiers until they agreed. Vrax rubbed his forehead. "We have lost control." Inside the room, the human child suddenly stopped and stared directly at the aliens through the viewing window. Slowly, his smile grew wider, and he waved. That simple gesture made 10 alien soldiers step back. The boy pointed at the honey badger and then pointed at the exit door. It was clear he wanted to take his animal friend outside. And that terrified everyone. Vrax pressed the communicator button. "Do not open that door," he said quickly, but the honey badger had already discovered the control panel. With unbelievable speed, it leaped onto it and smashed the buttons with its claws. The metal door slid open. Chaos exploded instantly. The honey badger charged into the hallway like a small missile of rage and curiosity. Soldiers jumped aside, crashing into walls, tripping over each other, and dropping their weapons. The alien army, famous across the galaxy for discipline, looked like a group of scared beginners. The human child ran behind the honey badger, laughing with excitement. "Wait for me, slow down," he shouted happily. General Vrax shouted orders, but nothing helped. Every soldier that tried to stop the honey badger ended up on the floor, scratched, bitten, or hiding inside a supply crate. The honey badger ran through training rooms, armories, cafeterias, and sleeping quarters. It left destruction in every direction. Furniture flipped, metal panels torn, wires exposed, rations thrown everywhere. And the boy followed, treating the entire alien spaceship like a playground. By the time the creature returned to the main hall, over 60 alien soldiers had surrendered on the ground, too afraid to even move. The human child jumped onto a crate and raised both arms in the air like a champion. "That was fun," he shouted. Vrax stared in disbelief. He had lost a month of resources in 20 minutes. The Army's most advanced technology had been destroyed by a 6-year-old and a mammal that weighed less than a helmet. He had fought entire wars with less damage. Lieutenant Raltek whispered, "Sir, our budget report's just updated. We are officially bankrupt." Vrax didn't answer. He was too busy watching the honey badger climb onto a damaged robot and roar proudly, its tiny chest puffed out like it had defeated the galaxy. The boy walked to Vrax, smiling innocently. "Mr. Alien, can we do more training tomorrow?" Vrax's eye twitched. "Tomorrow, tomorrow." The boy nodded. "Yes, Honey wants more fun." The honey badger growled in agreement. Vrax felt his legs weaken. He took a deep breath and looked around at his terrified soldiers. None of them dared to come close. None wanted to risk facing the honey badger again. He knew they couldn't handle another day like this. But he also knew something else. Earth creatures, especially honey badgers and children, were teaching him far more about humans than any study ever could. They were teaching him fear, not fear of death, but fear of unpredictability. Fear of chaos, fear of something so small yet so powerful that even a mighty alien army could not contain it. Vrax watched the human child pet the honey badger gently. They looked calm now, friendly, safe, but he knew the truth. This peace would not last. Something told him the real trouble hadn't even started yet. And as he looked at the doors the honey badger had destroyed, he felt a cold wave of realization. Controlling this pair was impossible. Surviving them might be the real challenge. The alien base was unusually silent the next morning. No alarms, no marching soldiers, no voices in the hallways. Everyone stayed inside their quarters, pretending to be busy, pretending to be sick, pretending they were not terrified of one small honey badger and one cheerful human child. General Vrax woke early, hoping yesterday had been nothing but a strange dream. But when he stepped outside his room and saw soldiers hiding behind crates, he knew the nightmare was real. It was painfully real. Lieutenant Raltek approached him holding a datapad close to his chest like it was a shield. "Sir, today's damage reports are complete." Vrax already felt tired. "How bad?" Raltek whispered. "We cannot afford breakfast." Vrax stared at him. "You mean supplies are low?" "No, sir. I mean, we literally do not have money to cook breakfast. The training program consumed the entire month's budget." Vrax closed his eyes for a long moment. He wondered how the greatest alien army in the galaxy had ended up like this, broke, scared, and hiding from a honey badger the size of a backpack. He opened his eyes again and said, "Where are the child and the creature now?" "Still asleep, sir, together." Vrax frowned. "Together?" Raltek nodded. "Yes, the boy hugged the honey badger while sleeping. It seemed peaceful." Vrax took a deep breath. Peaceful, that word felt dangerous now. He marched toward the observation room. Soldiers stepped aside quickly, not wanting to come too close. When Vrax reached the viewing window, he saw the child and honey badger curled up on a blanket inside a small rest area. The child's arm was wrapped around the creature. The honey badger snored softly. Vrax stared at them for a long time. They looked calm, innocent, harmless. But he knew the truth. When they woke up, the base might never survive another hour. Raltek cleared his throat. "Sir, what is our plan?" Vrax did not answer. He was thinking of something else, something risky, something he didn't want to do but had no choice. He turned to Raltek. "Wake them." Raltek almost dropped his datapad. "Wake them? Sir, with respect, that is suicide." "We need to control the situation," Vrax said firmly. "We cannot keep hiding." Two soldiers were ordered to enter the rest area. They walked slowly, carefully, as if approaching a wild bomb that could explode from a single touch. When they got close, the honey badger's eyes opened instantly. Both soldiers froze. The honey badger stared at them with deep suspicion. Its claws twitched, its nose lifted. It growled softly. Raltek whispered, "Sir, this is a terrible idea." The soldiers took a small step forward. The honey badger lunged. Both soldiers screamed as they ran out of the room. One of them threw his helmet at the creature while fleeing. The honey badger chased them until it decided it was bored. Then it returned to the boy and nuzzled him awake. The child blinked sleepily. "Morning, honey." The honey badger growled affectionately. The boy sat up, rubbed his eyes, and looked at the aliens standing outside the window. He waved happily. "Hello, aliens. What are we doing today?" Vrax stepped forward and tried to make his voice calm. "We would like to continue your training session." The boy jumped excitedly. "Yay, training!" The honey badger growled louder as if agreeing. Vrax felt his heart sink. Minutes later, a large training field was prepared. But this time, the alien army had taken extreme precautions. Reinforced walls, armored barriers, shock-proof doors, extra guards watching from safe towers. And every soldier wore double armor, padded boots, and thick gloves. The honey badger walked into the arena like a champion entering a stage. The child walked beside it with a big smile. General Vrax announced loudly from a safe platform above, "Welcome to the advanced training evaluation." The boy nodded proudly. "We are ready." The honey badger scratched the floor impatiently. Vrax signaled the start. Two training robots stepped forward. They were heavy, tall, strong, and programmed to test reflexes. The robots raised their arms and scanned the pair. The child tilted his head, unimpressed. "They look slow." The honey badger jumped before the robots even finished their scan. It launched itself like a tiny missile, crashed into the first robot's chest, tore off its metal panel, and threw the piece across the arena. The second robot tried to aim, but the honey badger was already under it, biting and clawing wires like it was playing with yarn. The robots collapsed in seconds. Every alien soldier watching gasped. Vrax's jaw dropped. "This cannot be real," he expected the child to look scared. Instead, the boy clapped happily. "Good job, again." Vrax shook his head. "No, not again." But the honey badger had its own plans. It spotted a target drone in the air and instantly charged at the nearest wall. To the aliens' horror, the creature ran straight up the wall like gravity didn't matter, launched itself off a metal beam, and grabbed the drone in midair with its teeth. The drone exploded in sparks. The child laughed louder. "Honey is so strong." The honey badger landed, rolled, and stood proudly on top of wreckage. Vrax muttered, "We have created a monster." The next part of the test involved agility pods that released bright moving lights. The child chased the lights playfully, laughing, jumping, spinning, but the honey badger didn't chase them. It hunted them. It ripped open each pod until every light was crushed. After that, the pair moved to the climbing challenge. The boy climbed easily, but the honey badger climbed faster, as if it had magnets in its claws. It reached the top, roared loudly, and then jumped down without fear, landing perfectly. The alien army watched in complete silence. Not a single soldier spoke. Not a single helmet moved. Everyone was too shocked to even breathe. The training session lasted only 10 minutes, and yet everything in the arena was destroyed. Walls cracked, platforms collapsed, robots torn apart, lights shattered. The honey badger and child stood in the middle of the destruction, proud, excited, and ready for more. The boy shouted happily, "We finished, what's next?" Vrax whispered, Nothing is next." The honey badger growled as if demanding more. The alien army stepped back. They had survived the second day, but barely. General Vrax realized something terrifying. This wasn't a training program anymore. This was a war they could not afford, and the enemy was a tiny child and a creature from Earth. The alien base felt even more tense than before. Soldiers whispered in fear, officers avoided eye contact, and every hallway looked like a battlefield even though no real enemy had attacked. The only threat inside the base was still the same small pair. A cheerful human child and a honey badger that acted like it owned the universe. General Vrax sat alone in the command chamber with several datapads spread across the table. Every datapad showed the same painful information: cost reports, damage logs, emergency repair requests, and long lists of injured soldiers. He rubbed his eyes and muttered, "This cannot continue." The door slid open and Lieutenant Raltek rushed inside, breathing heavily as if he had been running. "General, we have a new problem." Vrax didn't look up. "A new problem? We have not even solved yesterday's." Raltek pressed a button and projected a live video onto the table. The image showed a group of alien engineers hiding on top of a storage container. The honey badger was below them, scratching the metal walls of the supply room. The human child was sitting on the floor nearby, building something with tools he had taken from the engineers. "What is he doing now?" Vrax asked tiredly. "He says he is building a super fun machine, sir," Raltek replied. "He has taken parts from our medical scanners, cleaning bots, and a plasma welder." Vrax felt his heart stop. "He gave the honey badger a plasma welder?" "Yes, sir. But the honey badger got bored of it and is now destroying the door for fun." Vrax stood up quickly. "We must stop him before he—" A loud explosion echoed through the speakers. Raltek winced. Too late. The honey badger had blasted a hole in the side of the storage room. Engineers scattered like frightened birds, jumping down and sprinting through the hallways. The honey badger walked through the smoke proudly, as if it had just completed an important mission. The human child followed behind, dragging a half-built metal machine. "Honey, don't run too fast, wait for me." One of the engineers tried to stop them, stepping forward nervously. Little human. Maybe you should not." The honey badger turned and growled. The engineer fainted instantly. The child blinked in surprise. "Why did he sleep on the floor?" Raltek paused the video and looked at Vrax. Sir, we must find a solution. Vrax sank into his chair. I agree, but what solution exists for this? Raltek hesitated before speaking. We could request help. Vrax raised his head. Help from who? Raltek swallowed hard. From humans. The room fell silent. Vrax stared at him like he had said something insane. Humans? Are you mad? Humans created the problem. Yes, sir, Raltek replied. But humans also understand their own species. They might know how to control their child, and maybe stop the honey badger. Vrax did not want to admit it, but he knew Raltek was right. Aliens did not understand human children. They did not understand honey badgers. They did not understand why a tiny Earth creature could break every rule of science, physics, and sanity. After a long moment, Vrax sighed. Fine, prepare a transmission to Earth. Before they could continue, an alarm suddenly rang across the base. Alert, alert, weapon test chamber breach. Vrax's heart dropped. Where are they now? Raltek checked his datapad. His eyes widened in panic. Sir, they are in the weapon testing wing. Vrax ran out of the command room with Raltek close behind. Soldiers scrambled in fear as they passed. Many ran to the opposite direction, not wanting to be anywhere near the honey badger again. When Vrax reached the weapon wing, he froze. Massive cannons, experiment shields, plasma launchers, and training bombs were scattered everywhere. The honey badger sat on top of a missile launcher like a king on a throne. The human child stood beside it, wearing goggles he had found somewhere. The boy looked up at Vrax and smiled. Hi, Mr. Alien, we're testing this big thing. Vrax nearly fainted. That is not a toy, but it makes a fun noise. The boy said. He pressed a button. A small missile shot across the room, bounced off a shield barrier, spun through the air, and exploded harmlessly on a safety wall. The honey badger let out a loud, excited roar. Vrax felt his entire life flash before his eyes. He shouted, "Stop pressing buttons!" The child nodded, then immediately pressed another button. This time, a plasma net shot out and wrapped around 4 soldiers standing near the entrance. They fell into a pile, groaning loudly. The honey badger jumped off the launcher, grabbed the plasma net with its teeth, and dragged the tangled soldiers across the floor like a bundle of sticks. Vrax shouted again, "Stop!" But the boy simply giggled. "Honey likes helping," Raltek whispered behind him. "Sir, they will break the entire base." Vrax took a deep breath. "We must contact Earth now." He walked forward slowly, hands raised, voice calm. "Little human, would you like to talk to your people?" The boy froze, his eyes lit up. "My mom," Vrax blinked. Yes, your mom." The child jumped happily. "I miss her. Can we talk now, please?" Vrax forced a smile. "Of course. But first you must follow me, and honey must not destroy anything." The honey badger stared at him suspiciously, then slowly walked to the boy's side. It didn't attack, it didn't growl, it simply followed. It was the first time Vrax had ever seen the creature listen to someone. He led them to the communication chamber, praying they wouldn't break anything important. Surprisingly, they behaved. The child held the honey badger close and waited. Vrax activated the long-range transmitter. "This is General Vrax of the Kaldurian Army. We request immediate contact with human guardians. We have your child." The screen lit up. A human woman appeared, calm, confident, and smiling gently. She looked like someone who never feared anything, not even galaxies. "Oh, good," she said. "You found him." Vrax felt dizzy. "You knew he was missing." "Of course," she said casually. "He wanders sometimes." Raltek stared with wide eyes. "You are not scared." She laughed softly. "Scared? He's just a child." Vrax muttered, "A child who broke my entire army." The woman tilted her head. "Did he also find the honey badger?" Vrax nodded weakly. She sighed with understanding. "Yes, that explains everything." The honey badger growled happily. The woman smiled. "Don't worry, I'll help you." Vrax felt a small spark of hope for the first time. Maybe humans really did understand their own chaos better than any alien could. The communication chamber stayed silent for a long moment after the human woman finished speaking. General Vrax stared at her hologram as if she had just casually explained how to control a black hole. She looked completely relaxed, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. Meanwhile, his army was lying on the floor of the base, injured, terrified, or hiding inside storage boxes. Vrax cleared his throat. "Human guardian, may I ask, how do we stop this child?" The woman smiled kindly. "You don't stop him, you guide him." Vrax blinked. "Guide? We tried guiding. He guided us into bankruptcy." She breathed slowly as if she needed patience he didn't deserve. "Listen carefully. Human children act wild when they're bored. Your base is full of exciting machines. Of course he's going to touch everything. It's natural. Raltek whispered, "Natural? This is natural." The woman continued, "And the honey badger, well, honey badgers don't follow rules. Not even human ones, they only follow emotions and loyalty." Vrax felt confused. "Loyalty? That creature is loyal to nothing but destruction." The woman shook her head. "You're wrong. The honey badger is loyal to your child. And the child is loyal to the honey badger. That is why the creature is so dangerous right now. It thinks the boy is playing, so it plays with him." Vrax felt dizzy. "Playing? That is playing?" She laughed softly. "For them, yes." The child tugged on Vrax's arm. "Mr. Alien, can I talk to her?" Vrax stepped aside quickly. "Yes, please talk." The honey badger climbed onto the communication platform, sniffing the hologram. The human woman smiled warmly at both of them. "Hello, sweetheart, are you having fun?" The boy nodded. "Yes, the aliens have so many cool things, honey likes breaking them." The honey badger roared proudly. The woman nodded. "I know he does, but remember what I taught you. Fun is good, but you must not hurt people who are trying to help you." The child blinked. "But we're just playing." "I know, but aliens are not used to human play. You must use gentle play." The child looked confused. "Gentle play?" Vrax leaned close to Raltek and whispered, "Is there such a thing?" The honey badger suddenly growled in disagreement, shaking its head violently. The woman sighed. "Honey, I know you don't like gentle play, but you must control yourself." The honey badger narrowed its eyes, then it looked at the boy. The boy nodded. "Okay, honey, we can try." Vrax felt like he had watched a miracle. The woman continued speaking. "General Vrax, you need to give them something structured to do. A mission, a challenge. Children don't do well with complicated orders, but they love simple goals." Vrax straightened. "A mission." "Yes," she said. "Tell them to help you, make them feel important." Vrax didn't know whether this was genius or madness, but he had already lost so many resources that trying something new didn't hurt. He kneeled down to the boy and spoke as calmly as possible. "Little human, our base is broken. We need someone very strong and very smart to help fix it." The boy tilted his head. "Me?" "Yes," Vrax said. "You and Honey. Only you two can do it." The honey badger puffed its chest proudly like a small warrior accepting a heroic task. The child lifted his chin, excited. "What do we do?" he asked. Vrax tried his best to think quickly. "You will collect items for repairs. Only items we tell you. You cannot break anything else. You cannot explore without permission. You cannot chase soldiers. And Honey cannot bite anyone." Everyone in the room stared at the honey badger. The creature growled softly, clearly unhappy with that rule. But when the child put a hand on its head, it lowered its anger. The boy smiled. "Okay, we will help." Vrax stood up slowly, unsure if he had just saved the base or doomed it even more. "Lieutenant Raltek, prepare a list of items for repair, but choose items they can safely touch." Raltek nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. I will choose soft items." Vrax muttered, "Soft? Yes, soft is good." The boy and the honey badger waited by the door like eager students. Raltek handed them a small tablet. "This shows pictures of what you need to bring." The boy stared at the first picture. "Soft cables, okay?" He ran into the hallway with the honey badger right behind him. The creature growled playfully, but it didn't attack anyone this time. Soldiers hid inside rooms and peeked out carefully. Instead of causing destruction, the honey badger simply inspected objects and only grabbed the ones shown on the tablet. Vrax watched through the security cameras with disbelief. Is this working?" Raltek nodded. "Somehow, yes." The boy carried a bundle of soft cables, and the honey badger carried a large roll of insulation material like it was a trophy. The alarm lights flashed across the alien base, painting the walls in bright red. The loud siren echoed through every hallway. General Vrax stood frozen for a moment, unable to believe this was happening again. He had almost started to relax. He had almost believed the child and honey badger were finally under control. But now the child's unfinished machine, his super fun machine, had activated itself somewhere in the lower levels of the base. Vrax turned toward the boy immediately. "What does this machine do?" The child bit his lip nervously. I don't remember." Vrax felt the color drain from his face. "You don't remember?" The boy shook his head. "I was trying different things. I used parts from lots of places. It could be anything." Raltek whispered, "Sir, that is the most dangerous sentence I have ever heard." The honey badger growled and began trotting toward the door, as if ready to confront whatever chaos the machine had created. Vrax shouted, "Wait, we must assess the situation first." But the child was already running after the honey badger. "Honey, we have to fix it." Raltek shouted orders to soldiers, but half of them immediately turned and ran in the opposite direction. The bravest soldiers followed Vrax carefully as he chased the child and honey badger through the hallway. Smoke drifted from the lower deck. Sparks shot out from loose wires. The air vibrated with strange, buzzing noises. When they reached the corridor, they found a newly carved hole in the wall, glowing with faint blue light. The child pointed excitedly. "There, it went through there." Vrax pressed a hand to his forehead. "Your machine broke the wall." The boy nodded proudly. "Honey helped." The honey badger roared proudly. Vrax groaned. They stepped through the hole cautiously. Inside, the floor was covered with glowing spheres bouncing around like excited creatures. They glowed bright blue, green, and purple. Some floated, some rolled, some changed shapes. "What are these?" Raltek asked. The child scratched his head. "Oh, those are the energy bubbles. I made them by mixing power cells with cleaning gel." Vrax nearly fainted. "You mixed power cells with cleaning gel?" The boy nodded. "Yeah, they bounce better now." The honey badger pounced on one of the glowing bubbles, biting it. The bubble burst with a loud pop and sprayed colorful sparks everywhere. The honey badger rolled on the floor in pure joy. Raltek clapped a hand over his mouth. "Sir, if one of these bubbles reaches the reactor core." "I know," Vrax said. "We would all explode." The bubbles bounced closer to a ventilation shaft. If they slipped inside, they could travel anywhere in the base. Vrax shouted, "Stop the bubbles." Soldiers tried. They dove, they grabbed, they stumbled. They slipped on the bubbles and flew into walls. 2 soldiers were lifted into the air by floating bubbles and gently carried down the hallway like balloons. The child frowned as he watched the chaos. "I can fix it." Vrax turned quickly. "How?" The boy pointed at a large glowing device sitting in the corner. It looked like a mess of wires, metal plates, rotating fans, and half-broken electronics. "That is the main part. If we turn it off, the bubbles stop." Vrax stared at the machine. "And how do we turn it off?" The boy smiled brightly. "You kick it." Raltek gasped. "Sir, do not kick it." The boy shook his head. "No, not hard. Just tap it with your foot. I made it sensitive." Vrax didn't trust anything about that sentence, but he had no choice. The bubbles were spreading. More were appearing from the machine every second. He took a deep breath, stepped forward slowly, and lightly tapped the machine with his boot. The machine hummed. It beeped. It glowed brighter. Raltek whispered, "Sir, I think you made it angry." The child scratched his forehead. "Oops. Maybe you have to tap it again." Vrax tapped again, a little harder. The machine stopped. Then it shook. Then it released a huge burst of colorful bubbles that shot across the room like fireworks. The honey badger leaped into the air with excitement, slashing at the bubbles in wild frenzy. Soldiers screamed. Raltek ducked behind a crate. Vrax braced for impact, but suddenly the bubbles slowed down. The machine beeped softly. And then it powered off. All the bubbles froze in midair, slowly lost their light and popped harmlessly. The room fell quiet. Vrax opened his eyes slowly. Did we fix it?" The boy nodded confidently. "Yes, you did it." "Good job, Mr. Alien." Vrax sank to his knees, exhausted. "I cannot believe that worked." The honey badger trotted over and dropped a glowing bubble shard at Vrax's feet like a trophy. Raltek approached the machine cautiously and scanned it. "Sir, it appears safe now. Whatever it was, it is no longer active." Vrax sighed in relief. "Thank the stars." But his relief didn't last long. The child suddenly gasped. "Oh no." Vrax felt his heart tighten again. "What now?" The child pointed down the hallway. "I made another machine too." Vrax nearly collapsed. "Another one." The boy nodded innocently. "Yes, it was supposed to shoot confetti. But Honey changed some wires, so I don't know what it does now." Raltek checked his datapad. "Sir, sensors show a large device activating near the hangar." Vrax groaned loudly. "Why the hangar?" The child shrugged. "Because it has lots of space, and confetti needs space." Vrax whispered, "I do not get paid enough for this." The boy grabbed the honey badger's paw. "Come on, Honey, we have to stop machine number 2. The honey badger roared with excitement. Vrax stood up slowly, feeling years older than before. "Raltek, gather every engineer, every mechanic, every scientist. We must reach the hangar before the second machine activates fully." Raltek saluted shakily. "Yes, sir." "Should we bring extra armor?" Vrax nodded firmly. "Bring everything." As the team ran through the hallway toward the hangar, Vrax realized something new. This child wasn't a threat out of malice. He was a threat because he was creative. But uncontrolled creativity inside a military base was more dangerous than any enemy fleet. The hangar doors slid open slowly, and what Vrax saw inside made him freeze completely. Lights flickered, smoke drifted. Strange shapes moved inside the shadows, and something massive hummed with energy. The child whispered, "Uh-oh." And Vrax whispered the same words in fear. They had reached the second machine, and this one was alive. The hangar was filled with thick smoke and strange glowing shapes that floated like ghosts. General Vrax stepped inside slowly, with Raltek and the soldiers behind him. Every footstep echoed across the metal floor. The air buzzed with energy. Something big was breathing inside the shadows. The human child held onto the honey badger's fur tightly. Even he looked nervous this time. "Mr. Alien," he whispered, "I think this one might be dangerous." Vrax stared at the boy. When a child who created chaos without fear finally admitted something was dangerous, then it was truly dangerous. Raltek scanned the room. "Sir, I detect high-energy signals. Unstable, very unstable." Out of the darkness, the boy's second machine came into view. It was huge, much bigger than anything he should have been able to build. It towered over crates and ships. Made from stolen parts of training bots, shield generators, engines, and even cafeteria ovens, it looked like a confused giant robot that couldn't decide what shape it wanted to be. And worst of all, it had legs. The machine slowly took a step. The entire hangar shook. Vrax trembled. Why does it walk?" The boy shyly raised his hand. Honey attached the leg parts. I wanted it to stay still, but Honey thought it would look cooler." The honey badger roared proudly. Raltek whispered, "Sir, we might not survive this day." The machine's glowing eyes scanned the room. It rotated its massive head, smoke rising from the vents. It made a strange, confused beep, then another. Then sparks flew from its chest panel. The boy gasped. "Oh no, it's trying to start the confetti mode." Vrax shouted, "If this machine shoots confetti like the first one, why is it dangerous?" The child hesitated. "Well, maybe Honey changed more things than I remember." Vrax felt the ground vibrate again. "What exactly does it shoot?" The boy looked at his feet. "I don't know." The machine's chest door opened. Energy built inside. Vrax screamed, "Everyone take cover." The machine unleashed a massive blast of glowing pink dust. The dust shot across the hangar like a giant sparkling storm, blasting into the walls, the floor, the ships, and the ceiling. It wasn't confetti. It was a mix of shredded insulation foam, cleaning crystals, and electrical sparks. Soldiers screamed and ran for their lives. A large ship shook violently, coated in pink powder. The honey badger chased the dust happily, trying to swipe at the glowing pieces. Vrax struggled to stand. "We must shut it down." The child nodded quickly. "We can do it, but we need to get close." Vrax stared at him in disbelief. "Close? That thing is shooting explosions of pink." The boy frowned. "Pink isn't scary." "I disagree," Vrax yelled. But the boy wasn't listening. He climbed on the honey badger's back. "Honey, charge." The honey badger sprinted into the flying dust, claws digging into the metal floor. The child held on tightly as they raced toward the giant machine. Vrax shouted, "Follow them, protect them." Soldiers ran after them, dodging bright blasts of dust. The machine turned its huge head and fired another pink wave. One soldier flew backward into a stack of cargo, yelling, "Not again." The honey badger jumped onto a crate, then onto another, climbing higher until it reached the machine's leg. It clawed into the metal and climbed upward like a wild, fearless warrior. Vrax watched with horror. "They're going to die." But the child was laughing the whole time. The honey badger reached the chest area of the machine. Sparks shot everywhere. The machine's head spun around wildly, confused by the little creature attacking it so quickly. The boy shouted, "There, the switch is inside its chest." Vrax gasped, "A switch? You built a deadly machine with a switch." The boy nodded happily. "Yes, it makes it easier to turn off." The honey badger growled, biting into the metal and tearing away a large panel. The chest door popped open. Inside was a glowing orange power core. Raltek cried, "Sir, that is unstable if it breaks." "I know," Vrax shouted. The honey badger held the panel in its mouth, shook it wildly, and dropped it on the floor below with a loud crash. The boy leaned inside the opening. "I see the switch." The machine tried to shake him off, lifting its leg and stomping wildly. Soldiers scrambled away. Vrax nearly fainted. The honey badger clung on tightly and clawed at the machine's circuits until the movement slowed. The boy wrapped his hand around the glowing red switch. He looked down at Vrax. "Ready." Vrax shouted, "Yes, turn IT off before we all die." The boy flipped the switch. Everything went silent. The machine stopped moving. Lights dimmed. Smoke faded. Then the giant robot collapsed backward, shaking the entire hangar and sending a massive wave of dust into the air. The honey badger leaped off before it fell, landing perfectly with the child in its claws. The boy stood up proudly. It worked. Vrax fell onto the ground in relief. I am alive, we are alive. Raltek sank beside him. Sir, that was the bravest thing I have ever seen, or the stupidest, or both. The boy ran to Vrax. We saved everyone. Vrax tried to breathe normally. Yes, you did, you saved us. The honey badger strutted proudly, its fur coated in bright pink dust like glitter armor. Later, inside the communication chamber, the human woman reappeared on the hollow screen. She looked calm, as if she already knew everything. So, she asked gently, did he behave? Vrax stared at the child and honey badger standing beside him. Then he said the truth. Yes, and he saved us. The woman smiled warmly. I knew he would. The boy laughed, Mom. Honey was amazing. The honey badger growled happily. The woman nodded. Your training is over. Are you ready to come home? The boy looked at Vrax. Can Honey come too? Vrax answered before the woman could. Please take the honey badger with you. The woman laughed softly. Of course. A bright blue transport beam soon filled the room. The boy held the honey badger tightly. Bye-bye, Mr. Alien. Thank you for the fun. Vrax raised a tired hand. Goodbye, little human. And goodbye, unstoppable creature. The beam activated. In a flash of light, both the child and the honey badger vanished. Silence filled the room. Raltek exhaled. Sir, what do we do now? Vrax looked around at his ruined base. Cracked floors, broken walls, smoke drifting from the hangar, he sighed deeply. We rebuild. But sir, we have no money. Vrax nodded slowly. Then we rebuild very carefully. Raltek asked softly, and what about future